Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Building a Farm Advisory AI using the Claude API. In the last episode, we fixed the ability for the script to get data in a structured format. We got it working with JSON, and then we made it behind the scenes so that we could process it for later use and fixed the correct formatting for the farmer. But we were still left with one problem, which is it doesn't know what we are talking about after every reply. And that is how actually the Claude API works by default. So I've asked, my onions are turning yellow. What could this mean? Are they at the bottom or spread out? And I'm saying they are spread out because I'm not going to say again the yellowing on the leaves of my onions are spread throughout. Claude has already forgotten what we're talking about. And it says, what crop are you talking about? So again, I reply, I'm talking about onion. And then it says, what is the specific problem you're seeing with onion? So that's pretty funny and entirely not useful. We solve it by having a store of memory that is persistent across messages, across the conversation of the same person, and across sessions of wherever this is hosted. So we could have a local variable here that persists it, and it would still forget the context if Vercel, where my app is hosted, has a fresh session or a fresh deployment. So for that, we use a feature that Vercel has, which is Vercel KV. Now, Vercel KV is just essentially this, which does exactly that. It's a open source in-memory data structure store used for several things. And here, what we're doing is that we are using it for storing this memory across these messages. So how does this change it? The call to the Claude API can actually contain a lot of messages as it's an array. So you can see the array and how it can be. So that history should be delivered to the Claude API for it to give a response that is meaningful. And that's exactly what we're going to do by constantly checking if this person is a new sender or if it's the same one. If it's the same one, let's add in the conversation history up to a certain number of messages. So for that, we import Redis, we add it to the requirements, and then we set max turns of 10, and then we put a history expiry of that many seconds, which is 24 hours. And we get this KV variable, which is basically the instance of the Vercel KV from Redis. And then we have helper functions. Now, the helper functions get history says from the sender that we've identified by scraping the message and the phone number, does this person have any data? And if not, let's create it, right? We create a new dictionary. And then from the update history, what we have is we have the check for whether they have history again. And if it does have history, then append it, but not if it's more than the max number of turns, which in this case is 10, after which it is going to treat it as a new session. And you can increase that number, but that is what we start with. And the way it changes what we are sending is not too different or difficult. When we get the result from the WhatsApp, we extract the sender as well as the text. And then we send the sender number to this get history function. It extracts it, identifies the number, checks if it has a history, and so on. And if it does have a history, it comes back with that value in this. And then to that, we add this message from that WhatsApp message. And instead of sending only the role of the user and the content, we send the entire messages to send. All right, so with the app updates pushed, we are now going to start a conversation. And in this case, we are going to basically start with the clean slate because it doesn't remember any of the stuff that you see on the screen. So we're going to say onion leaves are turning yellow. What could this be? We let it respond, and then we'll. All right, so here's the response: which part of the leaf, the tips or edges of the whole leaf. And I'm going to say the edges are, and I'm going to just say the edges are. And so if it has context, it's going to know we're talking about the leaf, and this is the leaf of the onion. So let's just say the edges are, and let's see if it understands this. There we go. So how long has this been happening? This has been happening since 4 days. So this could be a conversation about anything at all, right? And it still remembers that we're talking about the onion, and it says, is it happening all over the field or only in certain areas? So now if you see our turns, we are like 2 turns in. It's happening all over the field. It's handling the context really well. This is sounding more and more like a great conversation with a friend you might have who's an agronomist. How much are you watering now? Which part of the leaf? Oh, look at that. So it's kind of losing a little bit of the context right now. I think something happened with maybe with Vercel or something where it is not getting. I'm watering according to irrigation plan that the edges are yellow. All right. So do the yellowing edges look dry and papery? Oh, I think in this case I probably send the message twice, but let's see if that kind of stuff still happens. They look dry and papery. So let's see if it keeps asking me again, and which means that maybe this is still not the best design, but it, okay. So I think it does not forget the context, and it is doing a good job. And it's basically saying it's a potassium deficiency. Now remember, if this was a real farm, we do have all of this in JSON, and we would then record this, and that would be like a history for that farm supervisor for that farm site. The older leaves yellowing first. I'm responding to these messages because I want to know if the 10 turns are going to kick in a few messages. So maybe I can fast forward a little bit of this. So he's actually giving me these kind of instructions. So I did say I will do it, but it's saying do this today. Okay, I'm just going to say I checked soil pH. It's 6.5 because it says it needs to be slightly acidic. So I'm just going to go a little below neutral and see what it says, and we'll apply treatment later today. The new leaves are green, right? It's still holding on conversation fine. Okay, it's basically telling me the same thing over and over, which means that it doesn't have anything more to provide, but it looks like the diagnosis has been correctly and completely identified. And it says in 7 to 10 days, check if the new leaves stay green and the yellow edges on old leaves stop spreading. And so I'm gonna just say, hey, I'm going to say something like, just to throw it off and continue the conversation until 10 messages. I'm going to say, what are other possibilities since I just applied the recommended fertilizer program yesterday? So I'm asking a different track of question where, okay, so great. So it's getting investigative, and it's asking me what product, how much, and how did you apply it? I applied it manually and in powder form. I applied according to recommended levels on the packet and asked the store owner. This might be something that a farmer actually says. They may not know exactly how much to apply given a disease that has happened, and the bot is actually changing its diagnosis from a potassium deficiency to a magnesium deficiency, but it's making it broad to also check manganese, iron, and uneven water, and asking me further questions. So I think I am not at 10 yet. Let's count, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
8, 9, and 10. I actually am. Okay. The leaf veins are still green. So I'm just going to write that to see if the 10 turns has kicked in, and this is now going to be a completely fresh context. So if the 10 are up, then it will forget. So I'm going to say, okay, we'll do that and report back. Let's see if this turns out to be something that it thinks is a follow-up message from the user, that is me, because we are at this point, we were at like, I think we were at 10. Report back in 10 days with an update on leaf color and plant recovery. Okay, thank you. Anything else I should do for them? There we go. So what crop are you growing? Onion, cotton, or groundnut? So I think when I said, okay, thank you, that was probably the 10th message. And now we are out. The max messages have been reached, and now it does not remember what this is. So that is a matter of design where we want to keep the maximum number of turns. But I guess we kind of achieved what we wanted to achieve, which is we demonstrated how to add the context history using KV. And also we figured out that there's a production version that also persists beyond Vercel sessions that would be used in a more real world scenario such that we get this kind of history. So there we have it. And there's one more thing I wanted to show, which was the Upstash data browser, which is where we have that full conversation history. So I'm going to switch over there. I just have the sticky note to cover my phone number. But here is that message, and if you see, it's going from the latest to the earliest, and I'm saying what are the possibilities since I just applied the recommended fertilizer program yesterday, and then everything going back. So all of these is that 10 turns of the conversation, and there you have it. We have persistent memory thanks to using the Upstash and Redis, and this persists whether Vercel sessions are ephemeral or long lasting, and it helps retain this memory if you're doing something like this in production. So there we have it. In the next one, please join me as we try and stress test, asking it some weird questions to see where it breaks, because that is where we will start introducing a multi-agent architecture. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.